Hey guys, how's it going? Today we've got some planting to do. These are all plants that we already put in the ground, but we need to put them in the ground again. They had to be removed in order for us to put that patio in behind the stream. So they all originated in that area, and I think they're pretty much all gonna go back to the same area. And they're looking pretty good. I mean, honestly, they've been sitting in this wheelbarrow for a number of weeks at this point. We've got one of the new glow ball, is that what that's called? Glow ball, I think. Oak leaf hydrangea. We've got several more back there. We've got a blueberry muffin viburnum, which I might let go. I might let this one go to a new home. We already have one out in the south garden, and I'm not as enamored with this viburnum as I am with others, so we'll see. We've got a Montana moss juniper, which I do love. I want to put this back in, and then we've got a couple of hostas that we planted it feels like just a couple of months ago, so we'll get these back in. But we're going to start off by cleaning up these mint plants first. I hadn't planned on it, but I was over here getting the wheelbarrow, and I looked at these plants and thought, you know what? We should get them cleaned up. 3 out of the 4 are blooming at the moment. I'm not gonna cut them all the way back, I don't think, because we are starting to cool off. Like, it is cool out here this morning and overcast, beautiful. But if I cut them all the way back, I don't know that we would have enough time for them to flush back, to, create a nice new leaf canopy before we really get into the, middle of fall. I don't know that I'm going to keep them in the greenhouse, the heated greenhouse this winter. I think in the end, we'll just kind of clean them up all the way and put them back in the high tunnels so that they get that cold period. And here, what they would do is they would grow, they would probably start to look a little spindly, and they are an aphid magnet. So it's not something I think I want to deal with in this greenhouse this winter. But today we're just going to kind of clean up the leaf canopies and make them look a little bit more tidy, because if you look down in here, you can see like all the fresh leaves and fresh growth. Just want to kind of clean up this stuff right here. And we've got 4 mint plants right here. And when we're all done with those projects, we're going to head over to the grapevines. I would like to harvest a bunch of the white Niagara grapes, and I'd like to get them steamed into juice and canned. I've made juice out of that variety of grape a couple of times at this point, and it turns pink. It's a pink grape juice. Like the grapes, when you see them today, they look kind of greenish or white, white Niagara. But when you steam them, that juice turns pink, and it's just so pretty, and it's so delicious. I just do straight grape juice, no sugar added or anything, and it's delicious. But let's just go ahead and get these mint plants taken care of first. I'm gonna probably take them back about that far, and I mean, we could dry this. These are pretty clean. And this variety is French peppermint. Peppermint tea is the only kind of tea I actually like to drink. The other ones we have here are spearmint, lavender mint, and Swiss Ricola mint, which I love to use spearmint and Swiss Ricola mint for our tea kind of lemonade mixture in the summer. Lavender mint I grew just because I thought it would be fun. I don't really use that one for much, so I probably could clean that pot out, but I'm just gonna clean these up for today. So let's get it done. Swiss Ricola mint smells the absolute best out of all 4 of these. Oh, it's so yum. They do look better being cleaned up just a little bit. And I did trim up the willow a bit because that was just coming down right over where you'd want to sit, right over here, and people avoid this seat because of that. So now that's fixed. But we've got our French peppermint looking the best, and I think that's because this one gets the most sun. And these two were planted this year. These two were planted 3 years ago now, I think, and they need a repot. But usually what I do with mint is I let it go in the same container until it's just pretty much done and given up, and then I just start over with a fresh one. Like these, that's kind of almost where I'm at with these. Because the leaves I left behind just, you know, they've got a lot of hard water damage. It looked like spider mite damage in the beginning. Mint usually doesn't get spider mites, and I'm not seeing any like active mites or webbing or anything. I think what it is just hard water from the sprinklers. So I think that's just built up on the leaves there. But boy, it smells good over here. Oh, so our spearmint looks really good. That one never put on a tremendous amount of growth, and it could be because it was shrouded by everything else around it. And we do have the trailing raspberries, which was an experiment this year, and they just really didn't do much. You can see I cut them back and cleaned them up today. I think what I need to do with these, I'm going to keep them in this container and we'll winter them in the high tunnel. But I think what they need is to be out in full sun. They need to be somewhere where they're really just gonna get sun all day long. But they're still alive, so I think we'll be fine and we can kind of carry on with our experiment next year. Feels good just to have those cleaned up. I did bundle up the peppermint and hung it in the greenhouse, right there. So we'll let it sit here and dry, and then I can try making some tea with it. I'm excited. I've also got some mangaves I'd like to get potted up. We'll save that for another day. We've got some beautiful, beautiful varieties here. Like, look at this one. Look at the variegation here. Isn't that gorgeous? Which one is this? Moon Glow, maybe? Is there a tag? Hopefully. Yeah, Moon Glow. That's what it says on the side. I just think that's beautiful. And I've always been a fan of this kind of structure. It almost looks like a mix between a agave and then it wants to be kind of like a head of lettuce or a head of cabbage, where it's just very structural. And then Aztec King, which is a new one coming out. Really big. We have 2 of these potted out in the garden right now, and they've grown a lot. And then we've got Bad Hair Day, which has been in its container since last year. And look at this. It's pushing up out of its container because it needs a repot. Maybe we'll tackle that this week. Oh, real quick before we leave, our fig is doing much better than it was. Some of you might remember that I noticed that there was water pooling in the container. So I thought, oh my goodness, it's plugged. I need to fix it. So I tipped the container to get the water out. And when I did that, I realized that the plant has rooted in beneath the pot on top of the landscape fabric. So there is a layer of landscape fabric underneath all this gravel in just this area on the inside here, not out here, but inside, yes. So the roots have made its way through the drain hole into the area around it. And when I did that, it severed a bunch of the roots and the whole plant just looked like it wanted to collapse. The whole thing was wilted severely every single day. And so I just thought, let's just tip it back up, leave it exactly where it's at. I'm not going to mess with the repot. Let's just try to recuperate the health of this plant real quick. So we've been monitoring it pretty closely, and look at this. It's starting to produce another crop of figs. So it's apparently not too mad at its situation. There's a bunch of figs up there. There's an older one and some new ones. And our olive tree is doing fantastic, as is the fern that has, is this a plumosa fern, I think? I don't know. It has sent up vines and it's crawling around in this olive tree. Maybe like the next rainy day we get, we can spend some time in here. We can repot mangaves, kind of tend to the things we've got going. Because it won't be long where we're in there for the winter doing projects. Somewhere where it's warm. Okay, so this is our next order of business. So it looks like if we don't plant the viburnum, we just need to put 4 plants in the ground. Ooh, it's heavy. My word. Okay. Almost there. Good morning, fishies. Okay, just make sure we don't drop a wheel. That would be a tragedy. Okay, we are here. The Montana moss juniper I had planted right here, and I thought about going back in with it, but we might run out and take a look at the other Montana moss we have. It's grown like twice as big as the tag says they will get. The junipers are native here, so they do well. And I'm thinking that this spot is now a little bit too small, too snug for something that gets as big as it wants to get. So I think I'm gonna put it somewhere else where it can grow to its full size. Like maybe we'll tuck it in somewhere right over in here. You can see in this area we've got more of those glow ball oak leaf hydrangeas. There's one here, There's 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of an arc here. And I had the one we've got, it was either planted here. We might have lost one. Is there only one in here? Hold on, let me look. Oh no, there's two. There's two. Oh good. Okay. So I think what I would like to do, and maybe I'll show you from the other angle, is pop one back in here, but leave a larger gap between these two here than I will the others, because we do want to leave a little footpath through this area. We decided not to bring a formal path through here because it just necked down our patio area. But if you could, stand up and walk around the back of the tree and kind of cut your way through here, I think that would be nice to have that available. So maybe an oak leaf here, and then probably pop another one right back in here somewhere just to amp up this area. And then the hostas, I'm gonna go back in with in this same space. So they were right in here because the berm used to come closer to where those chairs are. So we cut that back quite a lot further. So I think I'd like to put a hosta over here and maybe one right over the rocks where it can kind of just spill over. I think that would be pretty. Or maybe we do one here and over there. I don't know. Once I get the plants out of the wheelbarrow and start setting them around, it'll quickly become clear where they need to go. But I've got to go grab my shovel and my biotone. And I just asked Amy if she wanted the blueberry muffin viburnum, and she said she's got the perfect spot for it. So that will go to Amy's house. Okay, so this hosta variety was a new one for this year called Lone Star. And it does spread out a little over 4 feet. So we'll have to keep that in mind as we place these in their new spots. And it's a zone, while I have it up here, 3 through 9. Pretty. A ring around there and a ring around here. Yes. And Montana moss. That never happens. Nice. Russell, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're just running around here all full of beans. All right, we've got both hostas and both hydrangeas planted back in this area. I did decide after walking around to take the Montana moss juniper out to the dirtlands, which I recently planted one out there. It looks really good, so I'd like to add another one anyway, and I wasn't sure exactly where I'd want to put it over here. So starting right here, one of the hostas, what I'm hoping is that these glow balls kind of grow up and we can kind of limb them up a little bit and have the hostas be an underlayer. This Sensation box elder is going to have to be lifted. The canopy is going to need to be lifted a little bit eventually. So we've got the one here. I did plant the white bleeding hearts in this area earlier this spring. I think they were called white diamonds. but they just kind of fizzled up and went away. And I don't think they're supposed to do that. They're a type that's supposed to rebloom throughout the season. But we did discover, I thought that the drip had been cut to this area when the patio was installed, but it wasn't. So we did some testing, we ran it manually and discovered that this section right here was kind of at the end of a run of like the end of a zone, and it was hardly getting any pressure. So these plants, like the Japanese maple, started to get crispy. That's when I started to notice like what is going on in this area. So it has been fixed. It now is hooked into a zone that doesn't have as much running from it. So we should be okay. But I was a little bit bummed about those dicentra. And you know, you never know. They might spring back to life now that the water's working properly. And those were kind of dotted around throughout. I can see the leaves of one right here, and there's leaves right here, so we'll see what happens there. But anyway, the one hosta here and then one hosta right here, which I'd like it to kind of come over. So if it grows 4 feet, it's only going to grow 2 feet from center. So if it does kind of grow over the rocks, that would be so pretty. And then we left that little space here so that we could, you know, pop back through here if we want to. And I planted the first oak leaf here and the second one there. Just like this little trio, which is going to be so pretty right here. So we've got the trio of hydrangeas, and then we've got 4 of the same hydrangeas on this side. So it'll look sort of like just a big arc of them. And oak leaf hydrangeas in our area, at least, even though the tag says I think that they like sun, they have to have protection in our area, otherwise they burn. So this should be the perfect location for them. And as long as they get the protection from that hot afternoon sun, they do perform beautifully. It's nice to have that kind of put back together. And Montana moss is in the back of the gator. A couple little updates. This is the Sergeant Pepper dogwood. It was a newer one. It was either out last year or this year. It's got red stems, kind of on the pink side of red, and the leaves have a bunch of pink in them, pink and cream. It's really pretty, and I'm hoping I can keep this one kind of in size check right here. Like maybe we will come in and do a rejuvenation prune next spring and kind of keep it down a little bit. But we've got some gorgeous panicum. Are these panicums, I think, in this area? And we just planted these last year. In fact, you guys, this whole space was not here at this point in time last year. It wasn't until October that it was put in. So like none of this existed here, which is absolutely nuts to me. So from about where that blue spruce is, that weeping blue spruce, and the oak was here. But all of it from that point over, I mean, of course, minus the big tree, none of this was here. Just incredible. Everything's doing really well. I'm super thankful for that. So let's go find a spot for our juniper. And I'll take you by the other Montana moss junipers we've got while we are at it. Oh, and the blueberry muffin viburnum. Our containers are holding. They're looking beautiful. So there's one right there. Planted this spring along with the chatalpa. Look at that, look how gorgeous. Especially with this mulch right here, it just looks so pretty. And it will absolutely fill in this whole area. We've got our show-off forsythias that were in our pots last spring. They provided such a gorgeous show, and now they're just doing their thing out here. I love seeing that. So anyway, I'd love to have more of this kind of evergreen texture tucked toward the front because we've got a lot of evergreens toward the back. So we'll just kind of slowly work on that. It's beautiful right there. We needed something blue right in this spot. Ooh, soft, nice. Was not expecting the digging to be that easy. Sweet. Oh, doesn't that look beautiful right there? It's just the right texture and color for everything else around it. We've got some of the hibiscus, Candy Crush, I think, and they've just been in big, beautiful bloom for a good portion of the summer. Right now, they're just loaded up with buds. And then we've also got blue chiffon Rosa Sharon out here, which those two together look absolutely beautiful. And then adding in a lower evergreen element will be great because, you know, the leaves go away on this one. These we cut back all the way to the ground pretty much. Leaves will be off the crabapple, and then what we're left with is green evergreens. So it'll be nice to have some blue here. So, so pretty. But they say this one grows 2 to 4 feet tall, which I can agree with that for sure, but it says 3 to 5 feet wide. The one we've had in the ground for a few years is way bigger than that. So this one will fill in this area beautifully. And I think I have to look up the zone, but I want to say it's a zone 4 through 8 or 9. Zone 4 through 9. That concludes our planting for the day. So we're going to head to the grapevines, but on the way, I'll show you those other plants. Blueberry muffin viburnum is right here. And you can see it kind of has an open growth kind of habit. And maybe it's just the spot I have it in, and it is struggling a little bit with chlorosis. So it needs to have a little bit of iron. And I don't know, I just thought, well, we've got one. We'll see how this one continues to perform, and then we may add some more. They do bloom in the spring, and this one looks to have some blooms on it right now. A little bit odd, but at least you can see them. Another bud right there. And these are followed by blueberries. You can see a few right here from the blooms that were here this spring. I don't know, it's this kind of thing that I'm thinking like, I don't know if I want to have more. This one gets a tremendous amount of sun, which I thought would be bad for it. I always thought viburnums needed a little bit more protection in our area, but this one hasn't suffered from like burning leaves or scorch or anything like that. I don't know if I need to come in and maybe give it a hard prune, like a rejuvenation prune of some kind. Maybe cut some of these taller, heavier branches out and let these like blousier ones kind of take over. I don't know. We'll see. On our way to the other Montana moss, I'm going to stop at the flower shed up here so we can get some baskets for our grapes. We set corn stalks out here the other night, and I came back out and put them in here because I hadn't attached them to anything. In years past, I bring like a little cup hook out here and screw it into the side of the building, and then I can tie the bundles off. I just hadn't done that yet, and we had a huge windstorm that came through. So anyway, that's what happened there. I think we're gonna go with some big ones today. The grapes we're gonna be working on are right here, but our Montana moss is just down the way a little bit. Look at this thing. Look at how enormous this plant is. So like I said, the 2 to 4 feet thing makes sense because that's definitely how this one looks. But I want to say that like from the tip over here, like this is the furthest one out to over there, it's got to be at least 10, maybe more wide. But gosh, it looks gorgeous with this lantana. This is the Luscious Berry Blend, and it looks gorgeous with these persimmon supertunias. Look at that. It's so tropical looking, but so gorgeous with the Montana moss especially. So this right here is the reason why I didn't tuck it into that little spot near our patio by the stream. Might have come to regret that decision in the end. Okay, so our grapevines here, there are 4 total on our structure. The 2 on this end are the white Niagaras, and the 2 on the other end are the Suffolk Red. So those are a red table grape down there, and these are a white, more like a juicing grape. These have the nickname the White Concord because they have that kind of Concord grape taste, and they do have seeds. So I just like to use them for juice because they are so wonderful. And you can see them right in here. Look at that. It's crazy that these make pink juice. Minus the seeds, which I don't love. The flavor is so good. Most of the clumps look really good, and there was a couple that got more exposed to the sun. We lost a couple of branches right in here during a windstorm, just small branches, but they were just enough to shade these a little bit. So we've got some raisins forming up right here. No big deal, we'll just pull those off. But what we'll do is come in here and trim off the clumps. Look at how beautiful these are. Oh my goodness. And we cut these back hard this spring. I don't know if you guys remember that, because I was trying to get them trained to the top of this, and it's been kind of a process over the last 2 years because I let them go an embarrassingly long amount of time without pruning them. So I kind of let them do their thing, and I probably shouldn't have done that in the beginning. Anyway, so we've been trying to correct them over the last couple seasons. And I think that they're doing really well, but it's amazing how much these grow in a season and how much they produce. And these grapevines came from Mateo in Philadelphia. 15-year-old boy sent these out to us. I mean, like in full pots. They were big when I got them. They must have been a couple-year-old plants, and it was just such a sweet gift. And I got them right out here and got them planted, and have loved them ever since. Okay, so let's get these all harvested, then we'll take them in the kitchen and start the juicing process. Of this clump. Isn't it nuts that this many grapes can come from 2 vines? It's just absolutely crazy to me. Look at how gorgeous these are. Oh my goodness. And if we get up underneath the canopy of the Suffolk Red, you can see all the beautiful red grapes in here. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So sweet and so good. Definitely a different flavor. And you could probably toss some of these into juice too, but it wouldn't have the same kind of, I don't know, what is that flavor of the Concord? How do you describe that? It's definitely its own thing. Okay, so now we're gonna head on into the kitchen and I will walk you through the process on how we steam these to get the juice and then how we can it. We are inside ready to make our juice. You can see the baskets of grapes sitting here on the island. The kids and I actually went and picked half of a basket of the Mirabelle plums in the back of the Dirtlands. I thought we could make some plum preserves, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, but kids have eaten a ton of them already. But in the time that it took us to go pick those plums, you should smell it in here. Just having the grapes sitting here, the whole kitchen area just smells wonderful. The setup for this project is really simple. We've got our quart-sized jars sitting right over here with our jar lifter, right here to lift them up out of the water bath. Then we've got our water bath counter right there. I've got water in there already heating up, but it does take an hour for our grapes to steam. So this is the steamer. I don't know if that's what it's called. I just ordered it on Amazon and it's awesome. It's so easy to use. 3 layers here. Bottom layer is where your water goes. Pull that off real quick. So you fill this as close to the top as you can with water because you do not want this to run dry. The last time I made juice, after an hour of simmering the water, there was still about half left in there, just to give you an idea. And then your second layer is where the grape juice will collect. Let's take a look in there. So the steam from the boiling water comes up through this hole and comes up to the very tippy top layer here, which is where your grapes will go. So let me show you the inside of this one. It looks like just a big colander. You fill this all the way to the top with grapes, and one fill with grapes usually yields you about 3.5 quarts of juice. But that steam will go up, make the grapes really hot and juicy, and the juice will fall down in here and collect. And then when you're ready to put it in your jars, you just hold a jar below and release the juice. You just unpinch it like that. I found it very helpful, which I'm going to do this again. I'm going to go grab a bar stool and put a towel on the top so I can set my jar on it, because I tried to hold the jar while filling it with the hot juice, and that's no good. It's way too hot. And like I said, I don't use any sugar in our juice. You can. I've read recipes where they say you can add, it's to taste, but it's usually around 1 to 2 tablespoons per quart. And that's just completely up to personal preference and how sweet your grapes are. I do know if you leave your grapes on the vines until the very end, they do sweeten up a little bit more. But usually when you can start smelling the grapes in like the whole general area around them, that's usually when they're ready to be picked and ready for this process. So once we get our grapes in here, and we don't have to even clean them, you can put them in stems and all. We don't spray ours with anything. And what I do is I just do like a quick cursory glance over each bunch just to make sure that there's no insects or things like that. And then we just pop them in there and start the steaming process. We keep it at a low rolling kind of simmer or low rolling boil for an hour. That's how long it takes. Once that's done, we'll pull our hot jars out of the water bath canner, and we will put our hot juice in them, and we leave about 1/4 inch of headspace. And then we're gonna do a water bath for 15 minutes. When the bath is done, we turn off the heat, let them sit in the water for another 5 minutes, and then pull them out. So they'll be in there for a total of 20 minutes. But that is it. That is all there is to this process. No additional ingredients. It's just grapes. And I love that. The kids love to make gummy treats out of these. And, there's a lot of natural sugar and stuff, which, clearly I'm not like super concerned with. The kids get so much produce. But it's always kind of nice to know, like peace of mind, that it's natural sugars. These are organically grown, and that feels good. Okay, so now I will try to capture the whole process for you so you can see it. I'm a visual learner, so anyway, hope you guys enjoy this. We've got a slow simmer going. Put this layer on, and our grapes go in, and our lid. Set a timer for 1 hour. Okay, so we've got like 3 more minutes left for our grapes, so I'm gonna take these jars out and get them ready.
4 more minutes.
Was it 4 more minutes? Thanks, dude. This is a boil.
I heard that.
Okay, let's see what it looks like in here. They haven't broken down very much. Not as much as they did the time before. Maybe I give them a little bit more time. All right, 15-minute water bath, and then we'll turn off the heat and let them sit in there for 5 more minutes. All right, guys, it's the next day. It took me quite a long time to get through all of the grapes that we were able to harvest yesterday. I started the process in the kitchen, I don't know what time it was, maybe about 4-ish, and I got the last batch of jars out at about 10:30 p.m. last night. They all sealed, and we ended up with 15 jars, which is awesome. I mean, look at these. They are gorgeous. I actually ended up with 16 jars. I've got one in the fridge that I just saved out so that the kids and I can make some gummies today. But isn't that the most pretty juice? Such a pretty color. Thankfully, it's such an easy process. It's just that you can't go too far because I always had a batch of grapes in the steamer and I had a batch of jars in the water bath canner. So I would set my timer for 15 minutes and an hour. I'd have 2 timers going consecutively, and I'd go out and do a little something, like I'd go out and water in the Hartley and come back in and check on things and then go do a little something else. And anyway, my mom came and visited in the middle of it and we had some champagne and just kind of made a little bit of a celebration out of the process. So it's very fun. And I love that we have all of these to put in our cupboard for the winter. So I just need to go through and grape juice, 25 on all of them. Let's take this outside though, just so we can see how gorgeous this color is in brighter light. Oh, look at that. Now you saw that I was running the juice through a sieve, like a fine mesh sieve or strainer, as it was going into the jars. And I noticed as I was doing that, I was catching absolutely zero. There was nothing, there was no debris in the juice itself. Some people do like to run it through like a piece of muslin cloth because that will, you know, catch littler things, I guess, but I never have any issue with the juice and having anything in there. Samantha's actually wanting a glass of grape juice, so let's grab that jar out of the fridge and I'll pour a glass to show you what it looks like.
Come on, doors.
Yeah, there it is. Here we go.
Oh. Good.
Isn't it good?
Kind of not when I have my teeth brushed.
Oh, yeah. Right after you brush your teeth, it's not so good. Let me try it. Oh my gosh. It tastes just like the grape smell. When you drive past, you know, that area and you could smell that pungent grape fragrance and no sugar at all. And it's so sweet. I love it. So we typically just drink ours straight or use it to make the gummies that the kids like, which we'll make a batch of those today a little bit later. And you guys, that is going to do it for this video. I think Erin and I are planning on going out this afternoon and getting some more planting done, which we'll probably share with you. But this is a really fun way to start the day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.